Teena was the Bonnie to Rick James' Clyde. So in 1976, Teena Marie signed to Motown, and although she worked with different producers on songs, nothing had been released by 1978. Then one day while singing in the Motown headquarters office, she met Rick James. He said of her voice that he'd never heard someone with so much range, yet so much soul at the same time. And he was so intrigued that he dropped Diana Ross's album that he was working on to make music with Teena. Because of him, she finally released her debut album in 1979, Wild and Peaceful, which he co-wrote and produced on. And he wrote and produced some beautiful songs for her alone, but what people started taking note of was them together. Their first duet, I'm a Sucker for Your Love, shot to number 10 on the Billboard charts, and the two became linked from then on. And I don't just mean musically. Now, according to Rick, they never officially dated as he needed to maintain his freedom, but they were grown, and they did what grown folk do. In his book, Memoirs of a Super Freak, he wrote that him and her first made love in Pittsburgh, and it was from sunup to sundown, claiming that he was the first man to make her. He went as far as to say that Teena wrote the song Portuguese Love about that.
And he said, yeah, well, you know, we first got together in Pittsburgh. He said, well, Pittsburgh Love, you know, it didn't sound that good.
In 1980, when the two were gearing up for their second and biggest duet together, Fire and Desire, Teena came down with a fever, a 100+ fever. But when Rick started looking for other singers to do the song with, since she was in the hospital, he said she got her sick ass up to that studio and sang the hell out of that song. And let's not get it twisted, although Rick did play a huge role in putting Teena on, she did not remain in his shadow by any means. In fact, unfortunately, by the time Teena Marie was ready to start her second album, Rick James was busy with his own career and starting his own group, so it forced her to start producing and writing her own music more so than she was before, which gave us the hits like Square Biz and Ooh La La La, which makes it even funnier, but it also makes it make sense that even after she had started gaining a name for herself, getting venues and gigs, money, he was still trying to play her like she was an up-and-coming artist.
He got the promoter to give him extra money so that I would show up, but he wouldn't have to pay me. Because I wasn't scheduled on that show. So he ran this whole thing on me. He was like, well, you know, I know, you know, we're going to be in Houston and, you know, you guys going to go camping and stuff, but why don't you just come down to Houston and watch our show? I was like, watch? Like I ain't seen the show like a million times, right? And I knew the game. You know, he was gonna get me down there, and there was 80,000 people in the stadium that day, and then he was gonna say something, and the 80,000 people was gonna scream, and I was gonna come out and sing Fire and Desire for free. Because that's how he set it up. But I had to get my money too. So I was like, let's see how far he takes this. So he started calling. His brother Roy called about 8 o'clock. He said, Rick says, when you coming? Oh, we be down in a minute. You know, we watching Katharine Hepburn and Peter O'Toole and, you know, Lion in the Winter, and we'll be down there in a little while. So we kept watching the movie. 15 minutes later, Rick says, this went on and on and on for about an hour and a half, 2 hours. And then the last phone call, Roy said, Rick said, get your ass down here and I'll pay you whatever you want. I was a kid, I was just a young kid, and then I got about $10,000 just to sing Fire and Desire that night.
And you know, that was their relationship. She says they were actually more like siblings than anything else. But throughout it all, him having other women, him being married, her having children, she remained his Bonnie. Going as far as to taking in his child that she had just met that day.
Rick was a funny cat. He couldn't find his kids. Cocaine is a hell of a drug. We found little Rick when he was about 8. And his sister Ty was 11. And Rick looked at me and Penny and he said, I can't take both of them. And I was like, huh? I was like, I just met these kids. What are you talking about? He was like, I can't take both of them, Teena. You gotta take one. I was like, what do you mean? I gotta take one. He said, I'll take the girl. I was like, I'll take the boy.
And Teena was there until the end, being with him at his final performance months before his death.
I used to use and abuse him, baby. And then I laid eyes on you. Was playing know what, Teena? Baby, I wasn't there with that. Everything should know. Sugar. Then I kissed your lips.
Then you kissed my lips.
And you put me everything to play. And desire. Above the blame.